3. All right. Okay. Well, hi everybody. It's what day is today? It's Wednesday today, and it's sunny out here in Vancouver. So again, thanks so much for taking the time out of your day. So I will start sharing my screen, and we can start going from there. Okay. So 1 second. Let me just quickly. Okay. All right. Almost there. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you can hear and see it. Okay, perfect. All right. Okay. So what I want to do is first just love to introduce myself. I know some of you might not be in here before. So my name is Pat. I am the co-founder and CEO at Isempower. And I came here as an international student, just like many of you. I grew up in Thailand, and that's myself when I was 2 years old. And of course, I look a lot different from there, hopefully. And I went to school out here in Vancouver. I did a business degree, and of course, finding job search extremely difficult because, as an international student, it is very hard to even just getting your foot in the door. So just a bit about my professional background. I worked at Ivanhoe Cambridge, which is a real estate company. Moved into SAP, more on the digital marketing side. Went to work for Best Buy Canada for a couple of years. And currently I am at TELUS as a product manager. And of course, I just wanted to mention as well that SAP is where I met Andrea, and I'll let her introduce herself in a little bit. But just a bit about myself, I'm working full-time as a product manager at TELUS, and also be running this organization to help international students succeed as well. So that's a bit about myself. I'm very excited to talk to you about how you can target your dream job and work towards that. So I'm going to pass it on to Andrea to introduce herself.
Hey everyone, thanks Pat. So my name is Andrea, and as Pat mentioned, we met each other at SAP. And happy to continue to foster the relationship and stay connected and get invited to things like this. So I am a talent advisor with Tableau, and as you may know, they are a Salesforce company. So I just started with them about 6 months ago, and before that I was at SAP for almost 5 years, where I did recruiting and also market intelligence. So lots of experience working with people like yourself looking for new opportunities, and happy to help in any way that I can.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I'm so grateful for Andrea. Has been an amazing mentor of mine, and she's now ready to help share even more information to all of you. So I'm very excited to have you here, and thank you again for taking the time. So, okay, so we'll get right into it. So just a little bit of an introduction as well of who we are and what we do, because a lot of you might not have seen us before, or it might be your first time at the workshop. So at Isempower, we are Canada's first job search platform for international students. And we help international students just like yourself get hired in Canada faster and easier. So we connect you with employers who want to hire you and value you, and really creating that connections between you both and allowing you to get resources and a supportive community along the way. So if you have not joined us, our platform is entirely free of charge. You will start getting personalized resources right into your inbox. You will get job recommendations from employers who want to hire you, and also get access to a supportive community of international professionals all across Canada as well. So if you have not have a chance to join us on our platform, I'll send over a link quickly in the chat, and then I'd love for you to go ahead and create an account. Okay, so we'll right here. Let's get into it. That's what I said earlier. Let's get into it right here. So I do have a question, and we'll try to make this session a little bit more interactive. So I love for you to kind of use the chat box as your own way of engaging with us. So I want you to identify whether or not you're more like a candidate 1 or a candidate 2. Okay, so I want to introduce you to candidate one. So candidate one, she is an international candidate, and she currently looking for a job, right? So she applies to jobs mostly online, going on Indeed or LinkedIn, apply online. And she spends a lot of time writing her resume and just perfecting it because, right, you know what, like English is not our first language. So, we'll spend a lot of time on her resume, and that's okay. She's not really familiar with networking and not really going out there and talking to people because maybe she feel a little shy. And when she applied to jobs, she's never really, hearing back, and she doesn't even know why. Okay, so that's candidate number one. Now I have candidate number two. Now, candidate number two, I'm not sure if she's you know, international or not international, but that doesn't matter. So she just graduated from university and currently just meeting people on LinkedIn, reaching out to people, meeting people in the industry. She spends a lot of time researching about company and the role that she wants to be in way in advance. She attends the networking events, whether or not it's online like this or it's in person. And she get involved in the whole industry. And what happened is, she didn't even apply for a job. A recruiter reached out to her to apply for a job. So now, I love to kind of get a sense of where you guys are. Are you more like a candidate number one, or are you more like a candidate number two? So type into the chat for me, number one or two. There's no right or wrong answer. You can also be 1.5. Okay, one, two. Awesome, Andrea. I'm so happy. Okay, I was candidate number one, but now transitioning candidate two. Okay, that's awesome. Well, I'm really happy to hear that. Okay, some of you are two, which is awesome. Okay, cool. So this is all very good. And I want to say something just wanted to say that you are in control of your own career. Like if you want something, right, as an international candidate, or whether or not you are and you're not, you are in control of your career. You can actually go after what you want. It's going to take time, but it's completely possible. So in this webinar, we're going to show you the steps that you can take in order to land your dream job in your dream company, even though you might think it's out of reach right now because you might be just out of university or currently thinking about it. But I'll tell you, if you follow these 3 steps that we're going to highlight in your webinar today, you would definitely going to land something within your dream industry or your dream company. Okay, so first of all, I want to introduce you to a concept called proactive approach of job searching. So every time I think about job searching, there are 2 ways to do it. And I kind of think it as a spectrum as well, right? There's no right or wrong way to apply for jobs. And that's something that I want you to be reminded of. Yes, every day. It's like whether or not you're doing this, like there's no right or wrong way to do it. And you can be creative as much as you want to be. So there's a spectrum. One on the left hand side is you being reactive, right? So just kind of like you see a job, you apply to it. On the right hand side is proactive, and that's where you want to be, is proactively going after what you want, and that might result in not even having to apply at all. Employers would reach out to you. Now, the reactive side is something that a lot of people do, is going out there online on Indeed or on LinkedIn and applying to jobs that you think is suitable for you. Maybe you want to be a marketing specialist and you apply to any marketing specialist or coordinator job, but you're not really involved into what the company does, or you don't really know what the role is all about. You spend a very little time networking, and you might not even network at all, and you just randomly have one blanket resume, apply to multiple jobs using the same application. On the other side, on the proactive side, this is the very opposite of the spectrum. Is you have a very personalized approach. So you're fully networking, you're talking to the right people, you are engaging with the company, and then you are very targeted to the company that you want to work for. So if you might ask me like, well, how do I become targeted? Like, what are the things that we need to do? So that's exactly what I'm going to show you. And what Andrea and I are going to show you in this webinar is how you can actually target the job, research about the company, and actually brand yourself as the best candidate even before getting into the job. Okay, so if that sounds good to you, give me a little emoji in the chat, or give me a little gibberish or anything like this, or anything at all. So just feel free to keep typing that into the chat. Give me an emoji of what you're thinking. Okay, cool. So we'll just open this up for a little discussion. If you do have any questions, oh, I love the penguin. If you do have any questions, just type into the chat. We'll see how we can respond that right away. So Andrea, I would love to have you on camera. So we'll do a little discussion here. So I know you spent many years in recruitment, and you're currently hiring technical teams at Tableau. So what are the things that you're looking for in a candidate to know that that person is a good fit?
So there's a couple of ways that you can get involved here. The first thing you want to do is make sure that you're understanding what the company is offering. And so in large enterprise companies like Salesforce and SAP, for example, it might be hard to really understand overall what they're doing and what problems they're solving. So a good way to do that is to engage with the company on LinkedIn or social media. So you're following their profile. As recruiters, we have access into a platform on the back end of LinkedIn that we use to search for candidates. And if you are following our company that we're trying to hire for, it actually shows us that there's a better chance that you're going to respond to our messages. And so those are the types of targets as recruiters that we look out for in that platform as well. So those, just simply by following the company on LinkedIn, we can see that you're essentially engaged with our brand. So that's a good tip from my side of the house. Does anyone have any comments or questions about how to do that?
Yeah, feel free to type into the chat as well if you have any questions, or because we have a smaller group today, feel free to turn on your mic and then just speak directly to Andrea. Okay, so if there's no question, then type into the chat if you do in the future. But right now, because what you mentioned, I like what you're saying, just engaging with companies on LinkedIn or engaging with company on the company website. So you did mention to me yesterday when we had a brief quick chat yesterday, you said something along proactive sourcing, right? So candidate number 2, she didn't even apply to job online because she knows the in and out. She goes to all this networking event and she show her face up all the time. And you might say, hey, I think she might be a good fit for this position. I'm going to reach out to her instead. So could you give us an example when you actually have done that in your job and how you actually went about it?
Yeah, so I mean, a big part of my role is finding people. I'm hiring software developers, and so the market is super competitive, and the people that are applying aren't necessarily a good fit for the roles that we have. So we have to really search by skill, search by location, search by university, search by you name it. And so those are the types of things that our sourcing teams are doing globally to attract talent to our companies. And so if you ever get a message from a recruiter and you might be happy in your current position, or you might be heads down in a project and not have time to respond, but just always go back to those people who are proactively reaching out to you, because those are the types of relationships that you want to start to build in your network with those professionals who can connect you to the opportunities. And so it doesn't always have to be recruiters. It can be finding a hiring manager on LinkedIn, or also meeting someone at a networking event and then meeting someone through them, or a mutual connection. So there's lots of opportunities, but what you want to do is keep the conversation going. Don't just treat it as a transaction. You're making a relationship. So those sorts of behaviors, you can then go back and leverage the relationships that you've made when you need to. So I think career planning is a long-term. It's a long game, right? We're playing the long game. So those are the little steps that you can take to help make it a little bit easier.
Yeah, I like what you said because like my first job out of university was at Best Buy Canada, and I knew even when I was doing my internship at SAP, I'm like, I want to get into e-commerce and I want to work for that company. So I remember showing my face, and that was pre-COVID day. So I would go to every career fair that Best Buy Canada was at. I think to the point where I know the recruiter's name and I know the team members in the e-commerce team. And because I showed that I was really proactive, going out there and just really want this job, I didn't get the offer right off the bat, but like 6 months down the road, they had a position open and they reached out to me and be like, hey, I think you would be a great fit. Like, do you want to apply? So, like
Mm-hmm.
I think the message that both of us kind of want to say here is, if you get a rejection once, it really doesn't mean never, right? Keep the relationship going because you are the asset of the company too, and they are actually going after you. I know, like Andrea, we were talking yesterday, and you said it's very hard to hire people right now, and the market is very competitive. So they like yourself, you are always on the lookout for good candidates, and you want to make sure you have
Mm-hmm.
access to good people on your LinkedIn network, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. So any thoughts or any questions around what we just mentioned? Okay, nothing. Okay, quiet today. All right. Okay. Well, feel free to type into the chat if you have anything at all. Okay. So here are the three steps and the three pillars that we came up with this, and we have done this. We have proven it. Both Andrea and I talked about this yesterday. And we're like, these are the three things that you need to do in order to land an offer in your dream company, right? And I'll just say this, it's going to take time. There's no shortcut in terms of, hey, I want to work for, say, Tableau. Um, they might not have a position open right now, but it doesn't mean that you would not going to get there, right? But if you really want something, here are the three ways that you can do it. So first, it's of course networking. Everybody talks about networking and how it is. And I know like as an international candidate, networking could sound very intimidating. Like networking is such a foreign concept to a lot of us because we just don't do that in our home country, and it might be very uncomfortable at first. Now, second is researching, right? So you want to align your values, you want to know what to say, and you want to know exactly what they're looking for, so then you can position yourself as someone who can offer that. And then the third piece is, I believe this is the most important piece, is just being persistent about your approach, right? If you're looking to land say a product manager role at Tableau, right? They might not have a position open right now, but it doesn't mean that you can't network with someone like Andrea or someone like a hiring manager and know exactly when to apply and keep the relationship going. Andrea, now that this kind of pop up in my head, just how important is referral in your opinion, in your world? Because if I keep an open conversation with a hiring manager, what's the likelihood of me getting outreach by that person to apply to a job before the job is being posted?
That's well, at Salesforce, it's our number one source of hires. So 50% of our hires come from referrals. So what that says is that you essentially have someone inside of a giant organization, which the chances of knowing someone who can vouch for you are pretty high when you do focus on those sorts of relationships. They can simply leverage your application for something that you're already qualified for to something that the company is really putting a lot of importance on. So we have to follow up with our referrals. We have specific service level agreements on how long we have essentially. So they're very, very high importance across a lot of organizations. So really leverage that opportunity just to get your foot in the door, have a conversation, and then over time these people will be able to vouch for the skills that you're bringing to the company.
Yeah. Okay, that's a really interesting because like my team, we are hiring someone right now, and it's like it takes us a whole month to actually get someone to interview, and it's because the job market is very competitive out there. So one of the things that pop up in my head is like, how do you go about having these conversations, right? Like we said, networking, and it might just sound so easy for us, but what do you even talk about, and like what do you mean by having an continued, conversation, or like open conversations?
Yeah, just take today, for example. So there's a number of you on the call. Hopefully you'll be able to make a connection from today and then follow up after, in a couple of days and say, how did you like this? Or what are you studying? Or where, like, conversation. Even as a recruiter, when I reach out to candidates, I'm not reaching out to them with a specific job in mind. I'm reaching out to have a conversation and figure out like what their goal is with their career and where they want to be headed and what skills they can bring to the table. You can't find that on a LinkedIn profile, right? So you have to actually get on the phone or go to sorts of events like this where you can have open conversations with people and learn a little bit more about what their interests are. One specific thing that you can do also is if you are looking for opportunities like this is a great way for people to add people into your network as well. Speaking events or volunteer events, build your network outside of the office as well. It's you never know who's going to be that person who connects you to the opportunity.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I know that like I'm pretty sure some of the students or graduates on the call might have this question in their mind, because this is the question that I have is, there are so many times that I reach out to people on LinkedIn and they're either recruiter or hiring managers, but they never really get it back to you. So, and even though you said it's about having conversation with the recruiters and hiring managers, but what if I just don't even have that opportunity to have the first one in the first place? Like, how would you recommend them going about it?
Yeah, that's it can be tricky, and even as recruiters, people don't respond to our messages, so I feel the pain. But so let's take an example. You want to be a software engineer at Facebook or Meta, and you are following their company page on LinkedIn. You know a couple of people that work there. What you can do is go type in the company name in the URL top of LinkedIn. It'll bring up literally every person that is connected to you, either first degree, second degree, or third degree connections that works at that company. So what you can do if you do have any first level connections, those are people who you technically should know and feel comfortable reaching out to on LinkedIn, and just say, hey, I noticed you were working at XYZ company, saw this job, or would love to have a coffee, chat, or catch up, or see what you've been up to, like insert whichever action you want. But that's a great way because you're leveraging your own network. And if it doesn't have to be a first level connection, you can reach out to people in different ways. And then also, if you do have an email address or a phone number, it doesn't have to be LinkedIn either. I think people forget about the power of picking up the phone and having a conversation with someone, like cold calling technically, but people still love to hear from people in their networks.
Yeah, I've done that before too, and just be like, first name dot last name at company.com. And I think if you get into their inbox in a nice and respectful way, mostly they reply back, or if not, they would just ignore. Unfortunately. So I just popped something onto.
It can be tough.
Yeah. It could be tough, right? Like I'm pretty sure both of us have like a bunch of messages on LinkedIn that we like unfortunately sometimes just missed it. So I just pop a link into the chat right there, and that's a student resources page. So you can download a free networking message template there. It's something that I draft up together, and it's really, really helpful. A lot of students through Isempower have used it, and they send me back a message and be like, I just landed a job using this message. So if you want to, just go ahead and download. Okay, so since we already talked a little bit about networking, I just want to briefly mention that, networking is not about getting a job, right? A lot of people reach out to me on LinkedIn, but like, hey, Pat, can you please find me a job? And I'm like, I don't really know what you do, and like I don't know how I can best bring value. But if you reach out to me like, hey Pat, right? Like I love to learn from you, and I love to have a conversation, and I love to learn more about what you do at at Talus as a product manager, I would definitely probably say yes and like actually go out for a coffee chat and have the relationship, right? So networking should be about building relationship, and it's a long game, as Andrea mentioned, right? Like Andrea and I actually know each other for like, I don't know, 3-4 years now, and it's that trust that you have to build with someone is before asking them to get you a job, right? So I hope that makes sense. Now, I want to also introduce like the difference between connecting and networking, right? So a lot of people are very good at sending out networking connections, or like LinkedIn connections. A lot of students are more in the connecting part. Hey, I sent someone out like a LinkedIn message and I thought it, stay connected. But networking is a lot more than that. It's about building a relationship, engaging with the relationship, and retaining and growing the network, right? So let's go one by one. So building, this means, you are intentional about who you want to talk to. So let's say what Andrea mentioned, you want to talk to someone who works at that company, let's say Meta. Reach out to someone who are in the position that you want to be in so that you learn more about that person, right? Now, engaging with your network means you want to stay top of mind, right? So you want to reach out to that person, maybe have a coffee chat with that person, or maybe send out, like useful article, and just trying to add value to that person. And then the last piece is try to have a conversation again by retaining the network, right? So it's not a one-time conversation. So the whole idea about networking related to landing your dream job is about building a trust so that that person knows that you can do the work and they will refer you into the company, or they will give you the insights so then you can write a really, really good application so that you can land your dream job. So Andrea, I'll pass this to you because that's what you mentioned to me about, the different tiers of networking and how important it is.
Cool. And I just put in the chat how to find the people connection on LinkedIn, just in case people aren't familiar with how to do that on the tool. It's just a little drop down button, first, second, and third connections, and then you click show results. So hopefully that's helpful. Yeah, so quickly just jumping into the different levels of networking. Like I mentioned earlier, it doesn't always have to be with a recruiter or with a hiring manager. And in fact, my recommendation is, I'm not sure what the years of experience are in the group, but if you are at the early stage in your career, finding someone at that peer level to have conversations with can be extremely helpful when trying to solve a problem like a new technology or work through a situation that you've never been faced with before. Is having someone at that peer level to essentially have a shoulder to lean on is super helpful. And so that's definitely like one of the ways you can do that, just as to bring this example to life, would be to join for an intern community, for example. So at SAP, we had a specific like IXP committee where all the interns would get together, and they would have they would host like hackathons, and they would do lunch and learns, and it was actually, they were innovating new ways to work together globally in this program. So it's super cool. So search out ideas like that, and groups like that you can be part of. And if there's no one at your office, or if you don't currently have a role, you can do just like meetup.com, for example. And so you can find people to play Frisbee with, you can find people to learn Python with, it's all scales. So I think that's definitely something like a low hanging fruit that you could leverage. And then moving into more of the management and mentor relationship, that's when you're going to be looking for guidance either from a mentor, or, for example, at a stage in where I am in my career where I'm the mentee, and so, or sorry, the other way around. I think as far as looking for the mentor and asking for a mentor, unfortunately, you don't always get to pick your mentor. Usually, your mentor picks you, and so. Keep that in mind as well. And you're not always going to get the help from people that you're asking, right? So like, it's really important to be able to have that relationship first before you can put essentially all your trust into someone and work with them closely. And then finally, just the recruiter and hiring manager relationship. Obviously, this is one that is pretty easy to do as far as updating your LinkedIn profile, staying active in the job boards, reaching out to recruiters, hopefully getting your foot in the door, like I mentioned, via the people connections on LinkedIn. And so this is very specific targeted relationships, right? Because you're looking for a specific role in a specific industry, and this is the person that's hiring for it. So the tier 3 would be a wide net, and then the tier 1 would be really dialed in and focused. So hopefully that helps. Does anyone have any questions?
How to ask for informational interview if you are new to this?
Yeah, so usually what will happen if you are qualified for a position and your skills are a match, say technical skills and soft skills are a match, the hiring manager usually will do informational interviews with candidates just because they want to make sure that your goals are in line with the team that they're hiring for. So if there's not a specific role that you're following up on, I would use, as opposed to working directly with the hiring manager, I would use that tier 3 relationship. So I would find someone at the company that I want to work at, and I would ask them, like, find the team that I'm hoping to work on, find the person that works on that team, and then ask them, hey, you've got an opening on your team. What's it like working there? 9 chances out of 10 people are going to tell you what it's like because they want new team members. They want to grow their team and be successful. So I think that's definitely one way and a good way to start. Hopefully that answers it.
Yeah, and just to add to that too, like you can go into an informational interview, go into it without thinking about, hey, I want the job. You can actually go into it and just be like, I just want to learn more about what you do. So then you take the information that you receive and then write your own application, right? And like just build a support system where that person can really help you, perhaps even review your resume down the line, right? Yeah. Any other questions about this? Pratik, I hope that answers your question. Thank you. Okay, perfect. All right, we'll move on. So Andrea, this is also for you. So how to engage with your target company, and like, because you are on the different end of the game right now, it's, can you tell us like some of the how do you say it? Look, places where students can actually sign up for, or perhaps upload their resume or anything like that?
For sure. So it does depend on the size of the company that you're interested in. So, the smaller startup companies probably aren't going to have a huge talent community that you can join. And so in those cases, what you would do would be like the Twitter follows, the social media follows, interact with them, like if you post on their Facebook or on their LinkedIn page, or comment or add something valuable to a conversation that they're having. That would be a good way. But if they are larger organizations like the Salesforces and the SAPs of the world, then normally they will have what's called a talent community. So you'll go to their careers page, you'll see that it says something to the effect of, can't find the job that you're looking for, join here or upload your resume here. And so what that does, it gets you not into a specific job requisition in the system, it gets you into their database. And so from there, recruiters are able to search within that database to find people who have not yet applied for the job that they're looking for, or would be a good fit for an opportunity that's coming up in a couple of months. And so they'll add you into a pipeline for that particular role. So that's a really great way. What you want to do in that case also to make sure that you're matching your skills to your future career goals. And so I did mention in the chat as well, if you look at what a more senior level position for your type of role, like what's the job ad look like for that position? What are the roles and responsibilities? Because eventually that's where you're going to want to be, right? You want to get your foot in the door and be successful in the organization. And so your resume should be almost a pretty solid skill match to the positions that they have posted that you are interested in. So pretty easy way to compare what you have versus what you'll need moving forward. And then once again, with the the targeting specific organizations. So what you can do, I mean, does anyone have any specific questions with respect to that? I feel like it's pretty straightforward to follow them in their social medias and interact with them. But as far as target companies, hopefully we're on the same page with, these are companies that you are aligned with personally. Either they're innovating in an area that you are passionate about, or their company values are in line with what you want to do in your career and also personally and professionally. And so those are the types of companies that I would really, it's a more thoughtful process where you think about the impact that you'll have, like working for them or the product that they're making, et cetera, et cetera. So that, in my opinion, that's what a targeted company would be. Is that what you were thinking, Pat?
Yeah, for sure. I think like it's more like, hey, I want to work for that company. It's more like, hey, I want to work for Tableau. I want to work for all this fan company, right? Like Microsoft and Facebook and things like that. And it seems very out of reach right now, but I need to kind of start putting my energy there and like figuring out, right, how to actually get there. So I would recommend, like, just on top of what you said, is create a list of target companies. Target a list of target companies and have that as your something in your back pocket. So maybe put that onto your wall and be like, hey, one day I want to work there, right? And then that just kind of reminds you every day of like, hey, maybe I need to talk to this person who works there, or I should go ahead and join, Tableau's talent community, like a bunch of like LinkedIn groups as well, right? Like a really good vision board for you. And just to kind of to give a little bit of an example too, like when I was looking for my first job, like I was very much targeted to the Best Buy because of the whole e-commerce game. But my second job, which is at TELUS, I only targeted TELUS because I align so much with their social impact support and their initiative. So I know that that's my target company, and I focus all my energy to that company instead of just focusing all my energy everywhere else, right? So you're going to be tired, and it's all about try to not context switch, right? Because context switching takes a lot of time. Imagine if you personalize your job application 5 times for 5 companies, right? You can totally do personalized ones for the same company and like just keep trying, changing, and iterate on it, right? So, all right. So let me just quickly read if you are into a vision board. A few people told me that they can't join the webinar, so I'm not. Okay, one second. I'll let Andrea speak, and then I'll deal with that quickly. So, okay. So researching. All right. So researching the company is also a big part of looking into targeting the company. So first of all, if you are researching about the company, these are the 3 things that you need to figure out. So first, it's what, right? What do they do? Why do they do what they do? And who do they hire, right? So as long as if you know everything here, you're gonna do so much better in a job interview, and you're gonna do so much better in your networking conversations as well. So let's just go directly into that, right? So a lot of people would probably go onto the company's profile, about page, and look at mission and vision statement. So can you type into the chat for me if this is something that you have done in the past, or currently doing every time you apply for a job? Like, do you guys go onto a company's profile and like actually read up on what they stand for, like their mission and their vision and their values? I usually go on Glassdoor and the company page. All right. Maybe type into the chat for me if you're like, do you do anything else? What else do you do to research about the company? I check what do they offer and what sector they're in. Aditya, I think you might have sent that directly to me, so you can send that to everybody else. But essentially, Aditya said, I check what they offer and what sectors they're in. Okay, so that's wonderful. Check some news related to the company or the product. Yeah, that's a really good one because, with large company, they might have multiple products, right? So you want to make sure that you're like tapping into the right team that are you probably receive the heaviest investment, right? So here are other ways you can also do to research. So first, you can have a press release, right? You can look into the most recent news. So similar to what he mentioned, social media, blog posts. You can even go on glassdoor.com and look at customer review. You can talk to the employee, so that would be a part of your networking. You can also Google and then actually put up an alert. So any news about that company that comes up, you will receive it, right? So essentially try to research about the company. So when you're writing an application, it really shows that you care, right? Because why hire someone who doesn't really care about the product? Like you want to hire someone who fits with the value and what the company is looking for. So I'll just hand it over to Andrea to kind of talk about how to align the value, because I really like what you said to me yesterday, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other people on the call would too.
Sure. Yes. So just to build on kind of the areas that I mentioned earlier with respect to values. So as Pat mentioned, there's a lot that you can find on the company website with respect to product offerings, sustainability, overall benefits, medical and dental benefits. Usually you can find that sort of information as well. So I think it's important to align with your personal values and then the company values. And so one of the things that I look for in organizations are opportunities where I can give back. So Salesforce actually has a very large volunteer, what's the word? They're volunteer forward. They really encourage that you take time out of your day to give back. So corporate social responsibility program is awesome there. So I really like that. In terms of the key value there is trust. And so I think that comes into effect when you see the way that the teams work together. And so it can be hard to understand what a value kind of looks like inside of a company. And that's why it's so important to have conversations with people who work there, because that's when you get that knowledge of kind of the key intel that you need to make a decision joining or not. So I think in terms of how you apply that during the job interview process is that you can essentially locate the company values on the website, and then what you're doing is you're aligning with one or two in particular that are in line with your beliefs. And then what you're using is essentially the STAR behavioral method of answering your question. So demonstrate how this value aligns with your day-to-day work, or demonstrate ways in which you have done that behavior that you're trying to showcase in the interview. So hopefully that is helpful. But once again, this kind of falls back to research. So putting in the work beforehand and then applying it obviously in the interview process.
Yeah, I think the thing is you want to look impressive, right? Like you want like, oh wow, I've done a really good research and I'm so aligned and I'm going to be a perfect candidate for the role. And the best way to actually do that is talk about your example. Like what you mentioned is, oh, I was leading a team here and I really align with Tableau's leadership principle. And then clearly say it out loud when you have conversations and interviews with them. You can also, on the other side, which is not mentioned on here on the slide, is you can also use that in your cover letter as well. So when you're talking about why you want to apply for this position, why this company, bring up some of the values that the company believes in and say, hey, you actually align personally with that, and that's the reason why I want to put my best foot forward, right? Anybody has any questions about aligning your values or how to do so, or like anybody has anything to share about how they might have done it? Okay, all right. All right.
I can add something.
Yeah.
I usually start my cover letter with like, what they're doing or what's happening in the current industry, just about the company. And I try to find like, like at least 3 values because a 3 is a good number.
Mhm.
And try to write like a bullet point or a story that's relates to you, like, just for those points, and just like put it in paragraphs and all good. So my experience with is like, I had 100% success rate with cover letters. And that's just this is like surprising and exceptional, because I don't know, like I believe that a lot of people who are in their like late 40s and 50s are the one who are reading the call letter, and I think that's why you should include the call letter, although it's just like kind of a painful to write call letters.
Yeah, yeah. Andrea, do you read cover letter? Or is that still a thing in the past, or do people need to read it, write it?
So I think that cover letters do showcase value in situations where, let's say, if you have been, in the case of, international students, this often is the case where prior to relocating to Canada, you may have been in a different career, or you may have had a different job and you want to pivot now that you're joining this new country. And so I think a lot of it is, I think I lost my thought there. So I think basically the cover letter, if you're pivoting into a new career sector, for example, then what you can do is list your transferable skills. And so these are skills that you have learned in your previous position or company or job or country that are applicable to the new opportunity. And so in that case, if I'm looking at your resume as a recruiter, it might not look like you're a good fit for the job because you had another completely different job first. And so you're lacking the years of experience, for example. Cover letter in that case, I think, is awesome because it can really showcase the ways that you have applied the knowledge that you've learned. So I think really valuable there. But if it's for like, if I'm going to read every single cover letter that comes through for a software developer, for example, like a Java developer, think of how many people there are on the planet with that skill. If I had to read every cover letter, it's just no one really is going to give that the time of the day. So I think it has its time and place. Definitely adds value in situations like I explained, but not an everyday thing for me, not going to lie.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's fair, right? Because like yourself as a recruiter, you have to screen so many candidates as well. But perhaps cover letter could be good for the hiring manager, or maybe the company, like it's a startup company that you want to really show that you understand what they do, for example. Okay, so thanks for sharing your insights there. So appreciate it. Okay, so the last piece of the pie is persistence. Right? So again, no doesn't mean never, and networking is a long game. So the more that you build trust and the more that you stay on top of their mind, the higher chance that you might get a referral, right? So here's how you can actually stay persistent, right? And I believe in this as so much is persistent beats resistant. Is the more that you try everything all the time and build it as your habit, it's going to come back to you in one way or another. It might be a longer game, but you're going to get it for sure, right? So here's how you can do so. So once you talk to someone through an information interview or a coffee chat, right, you want to reach out to them and try to have a conversation again. So depending on how comfortable you are with that person, you can try to send them a message maybe a month after the conversation, or keep them up to date with your job search progress, because everybody will really enjoy it if they know how they can help you. Right. I really appreciate it if someone keep me posted and say, hey, Pat, like your insight the other day actually helped me land a job. And, I love to hop on a call again with you because I'm looking at, progressing my career, right? It's never about just one time thing. So going back to targeting job and landing offers is once you talk to a recruiter, let's say you connected with Andrea after the call, right? Talk to her today, but also reach out to her again when you have more experience in the future, right? Because it's never about one time thing. So you can do the following. So after a few weeks, send them a check-in message, and that could be through email, it could be on LinkedIn. You can share how your job search progress actually has been like, how you were able to apply the insight that that person have given you to the real world, and find ways to add value in any way, right? You might think, oh, I'm just an international student, like I don't have a lot to add value, but just ask, right? Just like, hey, is there anything that I can help you in your professional career? Like, can I, help, even just to provide feedback on certain things? Like that's also very, very helpful as well. So never feel intimidated by, hey, I don't have anything to offer. You always do have something to offer, and create the opportunity for you to have the conversations again. Okay. And then here are the 3 takeaways that I want you to kind of walk away with today and start doing is, you can really create the opportunity for yourself, right? And it starts with being very targeted, because if you're not targeting something, you need to have some sort of vision board, and go out there and ask for what you want. So let's say you have a list of 5 companies you really want to work for in Canada. Go out there and talk to at least one person in those companies, right? And try to do that. Set a goal for yourself and say, every month I'm going to talk to one person who works there. And again, this is a longer term. So, you might not get, this might not be your first job, right? This might be your second job, and that's okay, right? That's fine, because that's your dream company. So you can ask for what you want, and people are always happy to help, as long as you reach out in the nicer way. And if you are interested in getting an example, download the template I just sent over. Try to network early and be very specific. So when you reach out to someone on LinkedIn, don't just reach out because that person works there, right? Do a little bit of a research on that person. So you maybe can say something like, hey, I noticed that you recently worked on this project, and I found that really helpful, like, or inspiring. I'm looking to explore my career in this industry or in this area of work. Can we have a conversation, right? Building relationship takes months. So if you're waiting only until after graduation, you will be too late. So try now. If you are still in school, as early as you want. They always want to help students. Once you become a job seeker, it's a lot harder to actually get someone to help you. So definitely try that. And then the last piece is, there's no right a wrong way to do anything, to do your job search, or to do a business or anything like that, to network. You can be creative. Maybe send someone a really nice message personally, because that's the way you are, and try to be creative as much as you can, right? So do more than what they ask. So let's say an interviewer asks you to come in for an interview. Maybe you want to come in with a case study in your hand to show that you are very much committed to this role, and you can do so much more, and you are doing a lot more than other candidates, right? So I always say this all the time, is you have to fight unfairly, because unfortunately, not every opportunities are created equal, right? And we are coming here as a newcomer, so it might be a little bit more challenging to actually go out there and get our foot in the door. So try to be as creative as you can. Andrea, I'm going to pass it to you to see if you have any other actions you would like to add to the students.
I just added one thing in the chat, excuse me, that we forgot to mention. So I will bring that up because I think it's quite valuable. So if you are able to create on a website with the job application, if there is a candidate section, and you can create a job alert, I would really recommend doing that. So let's say, for example, for myself, I would be open to opportunities within human resources. So there's an option to select that function on the career site, and an email be sent to me whenever a job is posted. So the more specific you are, obviously you're not going to select all of HR. I'll probably get 300 emails a day. So I'm going to select the ones that are applicable to me. So I think that's a really good tip that we didn't mention, so I think you missed out on that. But otherwise, I think we've gone over a lot today. If there are questions, like, happy to chat with anyone one-on-one. And if you did want to network, I'm open to that. I'm a pretty busy person professionally, but happy to chat. I chat all day for a living, so hopefully we'll stay connected. But really appreciate the opportunity to be here, Pat. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all the insights. Don't go yet. Don't hang up yet, Adrian. We'll open up for maybe a couple more minutes to see if anybody has any questions specifically. So now it's your turn to ask us any questions. We did a lot of talking, so feel free to turn on your camera, ask the questions, and use the opportunity to network. Or if you feel a little bit shy today and it's your bad hair day or whatnot, just type it into the chat. Okay. So over to you all. Usually takes about 10 seconds of awkward silence until people actually say something. So
I would love to hear, even if no one has a question, I think it'd be awesome if anyone has applied any of these practices that we chatted about, if they could share a way that it might have worked so other people on the call can benefit from that experience. I think that's a good way also.
So I want to ask a question. Hi, my name is Aditya. So hi. So like Pat always posts on LinkedIn regarding new graduate roles, asking for a 3 years or 5 years of experience. So should one person who is a new graduate, should he go ahead and apply for these roles, thinking that it might be a mistake on their end, or should they confront the hiring manager?
Great question.
Do you want me to answer that one? Okay, go ahead.
I think you should answer that one, Andrea.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of figured that would come back to me. But so the types of opportunities that you're applying for should be in line with the number of years of experience that you have, or at least you should be a match for, say, like 70% of the job description. There are obviously opportunities where you can apply for positions that you are not qualified for, but in order to get the best bang for your buck, you should be applying for positions that match your skill, years of experience. So if we say software engineer, for example, normally there is an associate level. So associate level is usually means like the intern level or someone in their early career, like less than 1 year of workplace experience. Then we'll move into what we call the software developer position. And so that's where you would start building your career as a developer in the industry. Then you would move into a senior developer role. Then you would move into either an expert or a manager role. So usually you can tell from the prefix of the job description, like is it an intern? Is it an associate? Is it a coordinator? Is it a, those are the types of words that normally are associated with early career positions. And then as you start to move through your career, you'll see you're starting to apply for senior roles. And usually those are associated with 5+ years of experience, depending on the industry that you're in. So just keep an eye on the years of experience. And like I said, don't ever let fear stop you from applying for a job, right? The worst thing that's going to happen is you're not going to hear anything. So don't let that get in the way. But that's a good guideline as far as the labels of the positions are concerned.
But Andrea, the job said new graduate student as the headline, and it asked for 3 years of experience.
Yeah, it can be confusing when companies do that. In that case, I would, for lack of trying, you could apply. There's no number of jobs that you can or can't apply for. There's no special number. There's no magical number, right? So just keep in mind to track your applications and make sure you're not over applying for positions at one specific company. Keep that in mind as well, I would say.
This comes to my second question. Is there a time period which Canadian companies follow if they reject a particular person for a particular position?
Not at any of the companies that I have worked at. Okay. Even at Salesforce, if you interview for one role one day, you can actually interview for another role the next day. So it's, we're definitely open that way. And then what I would just keep in mind is, let's say if there's 50 or 50 jobs or something like that you're applying to, make sure that you're keeping track of all of them, because if a recruiter calls you and you don't know what position you applied for because you're just spamming the job boards hoping to get kind of a a bite on your resume. I think it definitely adds more value if you're following the what Pat and I have gone through to be really dialed in and focused on your search.
Okay.
Yeah, this is all a very good question, and like apply anyway. Like even though you don't have the experience, but you also need to know what you have to do to compensate the lack of years of experience. Maybe you have a lot more project experience, like what Pratik mentioned, or you have a really good cultural fit, right? So again, cultural fit cannot really be demonstrated via resume only. So that's why the relationship and the networking piece comes in, right? Personally, my first job out of university required 5 years of experience. I had 0. So, but I network like crazy and they like me because of me. So it is possible and so many people have done it. So definitely go out and apply, idea. Yeah, anyway, good luck on that. Okay, cool. So any other question? Probably have what time for maybe one more. Of course. Well, thank you everybody for attending. So with that being said, I want to invite you all to join our ecosystem at isempower.com. So if you have not created an account with us, it's entirely free of charge. So please go ahead and do so. You get resources. We just launched a job board a couple of days ago. So you'll see some more job opportunities, some recommendations that will be coming your way, and then definitely connect with the community. So before you go, I also want to mention that we also have a career launcher bootcamp. So a few of you on the call are also a part of the program. So really happy to see you here. And essentially the career launcher bootcamp is a paid program. So it might not be for everybody, but if you are looking for ongoing support in your job search, we have a program available, and we bring in recruiters and hiring managers to provide you with the job search support until you get hired in Canada. So we have close to 100 students now who have gone through the program and have been seeing quite a bit of success in terms of the learning. So if you are interested, I'll send over some more information. And Andrea, thank you so much again for being, so supportive with our program. And with that being said, I love to offer a 20% discount to join the program. And if you are interested, feel free to use the code. I will be sending out some more information later on as well. Now, that is it for me today. I love for you guys to give a loud applause to Andrea for being a surprise guest on our webinar today, and feel free to clap or do an emoji clap or say anything like that. So feel free to connect with her offline. She's, a sweetheart, really very much helpful to myself as a mentor, to a lot of other international students and candidates out there. So definitely feel free to connect with Andrea and myself if you're not already on my LinkedIn. And look forward to seeing you at the next webinar. And now that I have you here, actually, there's a new webinar that I'm announcing tomorrow. So if you have not heard about it, we are running a Land Your Summer Internship workshop series. That's entirely free of charge. It will be towards the end of the month. So if you are interested in landing your summer internship, and I know Aditya, you are looking for a summer internship, maybe last time we talked. So feel free to get yourself registered on there. I love to see everybody there. And yeah, thank you again for taking the time. Thank you so much, Andrea. All right, well, have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Pat. Bye, Andrea. Thank you.